Today we're going to be taking a look at the AWOL Vision LTV-3500 Pro, and as with most things in life, there is a right tool for the job, and we want to know when is it right to use this particular projector. And I also want to compare it to my previous ultra short throw, the BenQ V7050i. So after my review of the Valerian Vision Master Pro 2, the sister company AWOL reached out to me to review their Thunderbeat audio system. The cool thing about that is it uses the speakers from the ultra short throw as a center channel, but I'm not going to be reviewing that today. I'll leave that for a future review. All you need to know about the audio on this is the speakers are serviceable by themselves, but if you're projecting a 150-inch image, you probably deserve more than the built-in speakers on this thing. So what is this thing? This is an ultra short throw projector, meaning it's meant to be placed close to the screen, and it puts out 3,500 lumens according to their specs, which means it gets very bright. As of right now, it's $1,000 off at Amazon, so you'll see it for $4,999. For Black Friday, they also have a deal on their website where if you buy the LTV-3500 Pro, you also get a free 120-inch floor-rising screen. You can also get another $100 off all bundles on their website using the code 100JNT. Link in the description. So for comparison, the BenQ V7050i that I previously used sells for $34.99. So this one is a triple laser projector, and they claim it's capable of up to 107% of BT 2020 color space. I don't have any measurement tools to confirm this, but I can say that the color range seems more than the single laser and bulb-based projectors that I've reviewed in the past. I don't do any hardcore gaming, but from the gaming that we do here as a family, I can tell that the latency is pretty low. They claim it's 15 milliseconds in 4K, 8 milliseconds at 1080p, 120 Hz. The BenQ is noticeably slower at 83.4 milliseconds at 1080p, 60 Hz. I briefly tried out 3D. My kids seem to love it. And what I noticed is it is bright enough to compensate for the dimming that you get by putting on sunglasses. I mean, 3D glasses. It has native support for HDR10+, as well as Dolby Vision, which is handy if you're using an Apple TV, a Dune HD, or a Zadu, where you can force Dolby Vision on all content. The BenQ I previously had does not support Dolby Vision. The reason why I find it useful is because I don't have to use something like the HD Fury to trick the player into thinking that the device has Dolby Vision, because it actually does support Dolby Vision. I should note that this does not have dynamic tone mapping, so using something like the HD Fury with the VS10 engine on some of these players is still useful. It does come with an Amazon Fire Stick Max, which fits into the back here, very slick. The speed of it is about on par with a QSO1 Android stick that comes with the BenQ, but I still prefer using an external streaming device like the Apple TV 4K or my NVIDIA Shield. So my setup right now is I'm using this in my living room with a motorized CLR screen, ceiling light rejecting screen, from Elite Pro AV. These are designed specifically for ultra short throw projectors, which means it enables you to get good light coming from the projector itself, and it rejects all the light coming from the ceiling and some of the light spill that's coming from the sides. Because of the screen, I can use this with all of my 6 ceiling lights on, and I still get a very good image. This also has to do with the extreme brightness of this 3,500 lumen projector. Brightness is all good, but that's not all that's required for good picture quality. Let's take a look at black levels. They claim a native contrast ratio of 2,500 to 1, and BenQ claims a silly 2 million to 1. I've seen measurements from third-party companies measuring the BenQ at something more like 1,100 to 1. I don't often trust the contrast claims from these companies because there are ways to game the system where they might have a mode that is extremely bright, but the picture quality is so bad that nobody would ever want to use it. But subjectively, looking at these two projectors, it's obvious that the AWOL has better contrast due to its lower black floor and the higher brightness from its 35 lumen output versus the BenQ's 2,500 lumen. All I can say is it's a very TV-like experience. I've been wanting to watch more movies because it's so easy to use. My family tends to use it more often to watch soccer games and play video games just because it's so easy to use. I'll get into the speed of operation later on in the video. So this does have EBL or enhanced black levels, but it didn't seem to work as aggressively as it did on the Valerian, but I keep it on just in case. When it comes to color accuracy, the BenQ tops this because it comes pre-calibrated from the manufacturer. So I use a calibration method that's unconventional where I use a calibrated camera and I try to match this to my calibrated monitor. And from what I can tell, the results are significantly better than the out-of-box color calibration. I would say that the post-calibration results are on par with the BenQ. It also retains a lot of that brightness even after calibration. I did want to share my settings with other LTV-3500 Pro owners, but after putting this on AVS, I noticed that other people who were trying my settings noticed a greenish tint, which is interesting because when I tried their settings, it looks a little bit too reddish on my end. So I think there might be a difference in maybe the hardware or the updates that mine has. I'm not sure exactly. So I hesitate to share my settings as of right now, but if it's something that we figure out, I will leave them in the description. So I mentioned that my family tends to use this more often, and it's just because it's very fast to turn on. It's also fast to turn off, and the menu system is quick, which is important for someone like me who likes to tweak the settings all the time. The sharpness on this is very good because they're using this Rico lens, and I'm a Rico fan. I did notice that the corner sharpness is not as precise as a long throw projector, but that's kind of to be expected because of the angle that the light comes in. It's very tough for the top corners to be sharp while also retaining the sharpness on the lower corners. Regarding fan noise, it has a noticeably lower fan noise than my BenQ. It also seems to run cooler than the BenQ despite it being brighter. This makes sense considering the power consumption on this is 320 watts and on the BenQ it is 480. MEMC, which is basically motion interpolation, fills in the frames in between frames, so it is handy for sports. If you're watching something on YouTube and it's maybe 30p, you're used to seeing that at 60p where everything looks nice and smooth and realistic. So when it comes to sports, I always leave that setting on, and it does smooth everything out nicely. If you're planning to use this, I did notice that I had to turn off the low delay mode. The auto keystoning did work as expected, although I did notice a slight bit of lag when I tap it up and down. It took a little while, so a little bit frustrating, but luckily it's only something that you'd have to set once. Both of these projectors have 24p mode, so I didn't notice any judder when it came to watching movies. Before I tell you what I liked about the BenQ better, quick message from our sponsor, which is not AWOL, but it is sponsored by the Spatial Audio Calibration Toolkit. That's a project that I have with TechnoDad, and we created a disc that allows you to test your Dolby Atmos system. It's also sponsored by my Magic Bean software, which is intended to find the true target response of the speakers in your room at your listening position. I'll leave a link down below to both. So what I liked about the BenQ better was that it has this motorized functionality that kind of keeps the dust out when it's just sitting there. I also like the aesthetics of the BenQ better. Just looking at it, just very simple. It kind of fits in my decor a little better. There's nothing wrong with the AWOL. It's just I like the way the BenQ looks a little bit better. The BenQ came with a nice backlit remote. There's nothing wrong with the AWOL remote. It's metal and it feels premium, but I like the fact that this was backlit. And the thing I like the most about the BenQ is that it comes pre-calibrated out of the box, and they give you a report to show that. Having said all that, nearly everything else about this AWOL feels like an upgrade. It's brighter, has better black levels. I was able to calibrate it, so I am able to get an accurate picture from this. It is much faster to respond. It has Dolby Vision support. It has 3 HDMI inputs, and the triple laser system gives me a wider color space to work with. This shouldn't be a surprise because this is more expensive than the BenQ that I had. One question I got when I did my Valerian Pro 2 review is whether they should get something like this LTV-3500 Pro ultra short throw or the Valerian. Before I answer that, I would need to know whether it's in a light controlled room. If it is in a light controlled room, something like the Valerian Pro 2 or another type of long throw-ish projector would do a better job. You'd get better corner sharpness, and they're really designed for a dark environment. But if you plan on putting this in a mixed use living room situation, the ultra short throws are really pretty unbeatable. In my case, I can't put a TV because it is in front of a window that we want to use once in a while. So the motorized screen along with a UST is very handy in this case. Also, we can watch stuff in full daylight. We can watch stuff with all the lights on. So if you're watching a sporting event and you have friends over, you may not want to watch that in a dedicated theater. It's much more fun to have it in a living room where everybody can walk around, walk and talk, lights are on. And because the lights are on, you're less likely to have spilled drinks everywhere. So like I said at the beginning, there's a right tool for the job. For a dark room, long throw projector. For a mixed use living room space, ultra short throw projector. Because I'm always honest with you guys, I did want to mention the bug that I noticed in this latest firmware version, where if I'm in Dolby Vision and I switch out of Dolby Vision, say I press the home screen and I go back into Dolby Vision, it looks very desaturated. So hopefully that's something that they can fix. I'm able to get it back to the regular saturated look, but it's a weird bug that I noticed with the Apple TV. So if you have any questions about this, leave them in the comments below. And if you like the video, make sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell to be notified when I upload new videos, and watch these other videos that are related. Thank you for watching.